Welcome back to After 40. I am so excited to have Leslie Kane here today. She's an amazing individual that I met in person and got to know her. And I will tell you that she has tapped into something that I can't tell you how many people I know need this, myself included. She has like the magic sort of elixir for how to strategize and get through life. And she has a really great after 40 story for all of this. So I can't wait to dig in and I can't wait to tell people about you. So welcome, Leslie.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be your guest and honored.
Well, I'm delighted to have you. Let me tell you a little bit about Leslie. She is a courage coach, speaker, and host of the Why Not Today podcast, where she empowers women to take bold steps in business and life. With over 30 years of experience as a top Mary Kay sales director, she helps others overcome fear and embrace their purpose with confidence. Now, I love that you have all this experience with Mary Kay sales. You know, a lot of us think that we need to go in and get all of our experience through some kind of, um, a master's in whatever. But the biggest way to do things is by learning from the ground up, and you are a master at that. So I can't wait.
I did the master's part too.
I know you've done it all,
but honestly, my Mary Kay journey taught me so much more, I always say, than the 2 pieces of paper in my closet.
You know why? Because you actually, you know how to navigate individuals and human beings and connect with them. And you cannot get that from a book. And I'm not downplaying, getting education. I'm all for it. But there's something magical about connecting with individuals and knowing how to do that in a real way. And you've done that. So I'm excited to hear about your journey. But first, start off by telling us, you often coach women to take courageous action. How do you help them move from feeling stuck to building a clear, actionable plan for change?
Well, my company name is Why Not Today, and that came out from a podcast that I started with people sharing courageous stories and saying why not today. And I've really found, like, I don't know what you said, the magic is action and just doing it. And so when people are stuck, often it's in our head. And so getting it out of your head and onto paper, brainstorming, brain dumping, get it all out. And then what can you do today? Not next week, not next month. I met with somebody the other day that is working a corporate job, but her dream is to own her own business. And I asked her, I'm like, have you started an LLC? No, I'm going to talk to my cousin and we're going to figure out, she's a financial person, figure it out. I'm like, it is not hard to start an LLC. Why don't you do it tonight? And she's like, gave me all these excuses. And before I went to bed that night, I got a text. She goes, I started my LLC. And so I think it's pushing, encouraging, giving people permission to do the thing, and not perfect. You just got to start. And what I found with interviewing so many people on my podcast is where we start and where we finish are completely different.
Yeah.
But you just got to start. If people think about it all day long, and it grows too in scariness. And you just, I don't know if that's a word, but it's just taking action, not waiting. What's one little thing you can do today? Not next week, not next month, but today.
I love that you say that, to do it today, because people make lists all the time about the things that they want to accomplish, but they don't have a date set for when they need to get it done by, or they'll give themselves the permission to push it out. I love that you gave the suggestion, do your LLC today.
Well, I say, I don't call myself a procrastinator, but I am deadline driven. So give me a deadline and it'll get done the day before, more than likely. So, but have that deadline, the significant date, the something to move you, but have a deadline. And, but what can you do? Just one little thing today. Maybe it's researching, maybe it's calling one person. It's just one thing.
I love that. Having actionable things that you can do makes all the difference. It takes it from overwhelming to reducing it to doable.
Right.
So what's your personal system for setting goals and staying organized? And I know that you are a systems expert in your business and your podcast work, especially when you're juggling multiple roles like most of us do.
Yeah. So one is, get systems in place that make it easy. Whether it's your standard operating procedures, I've been using Google Docs a lot more, and I have an idea or something needs to be done. I put the procedure right in there. So then whether it's a chat prompt or a procedure, it's there, and you can grab it quickly. If you do something twice, it should be a system. As far as like planning and systematizing, and this was lots of years of Mary Kay, and honestly, I just finished it a few minutes ago, is I have a planning procedure. I created, I figured creating systems that work for me helps. So like planners, I tried every planner under the the sun, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted. So I took all the things I liked and had my graphic person create one for me. So I have a daily planner sheet that I use, but then at the end of the month, I spend time going through last month, what fell through the cracks, what do I need to follow up on, and then projecting where's my income, where am I gonna, what do I have to do this month? And it's interesting. I found, especially, and I'm still active in Mary Kay, that until I plan and have a strategy and put down, like, who do I think is going to do this and what's going to happen? What are my goals? Really not much starts. So I did it an hour ago, and orders will probably start coming in because, you put it down and the universe just kind of works towards you. I'm sure you've seen that happen. You have an idea, you write it down, and then, oh, wow, it just happened. So I have a system, and it's making things easy and accessible. So there's a tracking sheet I use to track everything every month. Well, I use a new one every month, and I print a whole bunch out. So I just grab it, and I don't have to find the document, print it. So how can you make things easy, systematized, things that are at your hands that it doesn't take 10 extra steps to do it?
That's so smart. And I think that having it at your hands is so key, because then you're going to have everything on Post-it notes. Otherwise it gets lost, it's disorganized. And I've been there and done that. So I know.
Now I do have the Post-it notes. I have them next to my bed, and I have them in my bathroom because the ideas come to you. And
that's smart.
Oh yeah. I have one next to my bed. I have one in my bathroom. And then in the morning after I've gotten ready, I take both those Post-it notes and I put them in my planner and throw them away. But you come up with the ideas. When your brain stops is when the ideas come. The other system that is helped me tremendously recently is using AI, using ChatGPT. This is one of my new favorite tricks, that often I'll get up in the morning and do my devotions, quiet time. I'll go for a walk, listen to a podcast, and I don't know about you, but my brain starts moving. And I would come home and maybe do a Post-it note, or I've known to, as I'm walking, grab my phone and put a note in it, or text myself or email myself, and then they're lost. I'm very visual, so they're gone. And so what I've done a lot is when I have an idea, I'll come back and I'll open up chat while I'm making my coffee. Say, give me a LinkedIn post or give me a blog post on, whatever subject, and I still have them stacked in there. I haven't posted all of them, but the other day, my dog some dogs they like and some they don't. And with people, the same thing, pretty instantly if you like people or not.
Yeah.
But dogs are like, yes, no, yes, no. People are like, well, let me think, but we really get that gut feeling. So, coming back immediately when you have those thoughts, or before I went to bed last night, I had a whole bunch of ideas and things I need to do. So I just opened chat and said, give me a task list for tomorrow of all these things. And I just brain dumped it.
See, those are the smart things that now that you've said this, I'm going to be able to incorporate one tiny thing today, which is part of, what you're talking about, which is to just get somebody to make one step a day to do something. I love it.
To something today, and I think it was Atomic Habits talks about this. It said, if you do improve yourself 1% every day, by the end of the year, it's like 3,300 some percentage increase.
Oh my gosh. That's so brilliant. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
And we often think it's got to be the big things. And I've always taught too, washing your face, whether you do it or you don't, you're not going to see a difference tomorrow. Whether you eat a donut today or tomorrow, you're not going to see a difference. But if you eat one every day, you're not going to see a difference in a week. But after a year, if you ate a donut every single day, or you did 5 sit-ups, you're going to see a difference. It doesn't seem like it, but it's those little things that add up.
That's so true. Yeah, absolutely. We can improve our lives one tiny thing at a time.
Mhm.
So, can you walk us through how you help someone identify and prioritize their next best step when they are overwhelmed or when they're unsure where to start?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what I said, just grabbing a piece of paper and a pen and
Mm.
make your brain dump. Like get it all out. And then like, okay, what's one thing I can do today that's going to move the needle? Or take all your things that you have to do and put them in categories, or, when are the deadlines? Like what's your deadline today, tomorrow? What do you have to do by Friday, and break it down. Like if something's due on Friday, you don't need to work on it if you've got something due on Tuesday.
Yeah, smart.
And so, and break it down and take that big, scary thing you have to do and break it down and do it first. There's a great book by Brian Tracy called Eat That Frog. I don't know if you've ever read that, but he talks about doing the scary, yucky thing first instead of waiting all day, and then it just gets bigger and bigger. And it really, how many things have we avoided and you think it's going to take forever? And you're like, oh, that was easy. You spent more time worrying about it and thinking about it. I did one time makeup for an after grad party, and it was an all-night grad party, and I had an early morning meeting, and I had to, honestly, I was exhausted for 2 weeks prior to this event because I knew I was going to get maybe a couple hours of sleep. The event came, we had a great time. I got my couple hours of sleep, got up, and was going until 11 o'clock that night. I was never tired, but I had made myself tired thinking about it.
Yeah. Yes, that is, I honestly think everyone can relate to that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such an easy thing to put off the hard thing until last and then keep putting it off. And then I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And then I go to do it and I say, this wasn't as hard as I thought it would be.
Yeah, kind of
So
like starting an LLC.
absolutely. And you're right.
I did it. I waited, and I
Yeah.
finally gave myself a deadline. And, I'm like, okay, that was super stinking easy.
Yes, exactly. But
Start a podcast, it really isn't that
uh-huh.
hard. We blow it up because we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, and it's that everything is just a series of steps. It's not
Yep.
like one giant leap. So you're right.
And
Break it
these
down
days,
into
I was gonna say, these days we can find out how to do anything with a YouTube video or, Chat GPT.
yes, AI is so helpful to break things down. So yeah, if you said, "Hey, go create an LLC," you could put that into an AI and say, platform, whatever one is your choice, and say, "Hey, break down into clear steps how I can create my LLC." And then you're going to get that. You do just one step at a time until you get it done.
And they
So brilliant.
also say, like, going back to the brainstorming, brain dump, making a list. And Brian Tracy, he said that checking things off a list actually releases endorphins.
I know it does.
And so I've often asked this question is, have you ever, Debbie, had something you did that wasn't on your list and then you wrote it on your list so you could check it off?
I do that all the time. I do that every day. I have to give myself credit for things that I said, "Ooh, that didn't make it on there," and I did it. Yes, absolutely.
And how efficient are we before we go on vacation? Like my to-do list before I go on vacation is water the plants, take out the trash. It's very specific, and it all gets done.
Yes, that's true.
And so we need to operate more in that mode.
I have a calendar where even if I have it in my phone, I have an actual one that's in paper format, and I put that on. I have that on my desk, and that's the one where I have the check off, and then I have to add everything. And I do put those little things like if I know I have to water the plants, that goes there.
Yeah.
And boy, does that feel good when you check it off. You're right.
Exactly.
There are so many endorphins. You're ready to leave and have a great vacation after that.
Yeah.
Or to feel like you accomplished something in the day.
Yep.
Every day we have so many things that we have to do that aren't for us, that these things make it all the difference, and feeling good about ourselves. So how has your strategic approach evolved over the years? You started with Mary Kay. How has that evolved, especially now that you're in the after 40 chapter of life?
It's just we pick up lessons all the way along. And so whether it's from mentors or doing it wrong and figuring out, and let's try a different way, kind of like the planner, I had to figure out what worked for me. And, learning more about us. Are you a visual learner? I am, and I have to have things in front of me. If I put it away, it's forgotten. Or accessible. So just learning who you are and asking other people. I think we need to really tap into other people and pick their brains and share and be willing to share with other people, which everybody really is. And, your whole mentorship project talks about everybody's willing to help.
Yeah.
And so just being willing to ask and I think after 40 or you hit a certain age and you realize, we've picked up a lot of lessons and we know what we're doing and being more confident with what we're doing. So obviously the systems kind of build on each other and you can apply them to anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's good info. And you're right. After 40, it's so much easier. We kind of know who our people are. We know who to ask. We're more comfortable. We're less vulnerable feeling. It's a lot easier to do that. And like you said, we've learned all these lessons along the way. We already have strategies in place. So we're just adding new ones that help.
I met somebody this weekend who's a 20-something young. You could just tell her confidence was not there. And her energy, she even asked me, what do you think my energy's like? I'm like, pretty, like, you look like you're tired. But she was trying to pick my brain on things to do. And and it's just, she's 20-something. She has no experience. She didn't know how to network. It's just her ideas. You could tell she was going at it from a very low confidence, who she was targeting. And I'm like, that's not going to take you there. But, you have to learn it yourself too.
That's true. That's very true. So what is one planning habit or mindset shift that made the biggest difference for your success and that you think other women over 40 should adopt?
I really think it goes back to the why not today, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to start. That it's not going to be perfect. And we think, especially, social media, our appearance, we think everything's got to be perfect. Everybody's watching us, and really they're not paying that much attention. Be who you want to be and don't worry about it being perfect. I think we've kind of totally shifted and people are more attracted to, or they probably always were, but we're talking about more attracted to people that are authentic. They're real. They see you mess up. You get so many more likes from on social media of not the perfect thing or, you being real. People want to see us real. And I think, as we evolve and over 40, I think that's one of the biggest things. Just be who we are.
Yeah.
And just start. Don't be perfect.
That's good advice because it also feels good to just be who you are. Rather than, feeling like, oh, I better go in and I'm in this crowd at work. I have to behave in this way, or I'm doing this with this group. You get to just walk in as you everywhere. And
I love Alice's story.
Tell us Alice's story.
So Alice, when I first met her, when I met you at the Clarity Weekend, she came in, she's got really fun, purpley pink hair. And she said she went on a job interview and they said, we love you. You're perfect, everything, but you need to change the color of your hair. Guess what? She didn't take the job. If she would have been a 20-something, she might have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm going to be me. And she said no. And I'm like, yeah, we don't need to change for somebody else. We need to be who we want to be.
That's so true. And, when you're 40 and older, you often feel like you can do that.
Yeah.
It's a very hard road when you're in your 20s and you think, I have to make it now. I have to go do what I have to do and fit into a mold to make it. Once we're in our 40s, we're like, I know how I can do it. I know I can make it.
I remember being first out of college thinking I knew it all. And I remember one of my manager's bosses can end up being a mentor. She was taking like a Dale Carnegie class or something. And the brat I can't even believe I said it and I remember it. So it must have been pivotal in my life that I'm like, oh, I don't need that. I've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And now I look at that and I'm like, okay, 40 some years later, I do not have it all figured out. I'm still learning and asking and picking people's brain and grabbing as much information from people as we can.
You're so right. I pivot all the time because I will hear someone say something that I thought I had down pat. And then I realize, you know what? I didn't have the full picture of that. And then I'll pivot. So, but it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel like a failure. It feels like a pivot, at this stage in life. I don't feel like, oh my goodness, that was some damaging thing to my ego or something.
Right.
It's a different feeling now.
Yeah. Now when you have a failure, it's like, pick up the lesson. We don't.
Yes, exactly.
And I think as we get older, I teach this a lot. We go through an emotional cycle, and somebody heard recently talked about it being your bounce back quotient or ability. Yeah. And bounce back, we go through the emotional cycle much quicker than when you're younger because we've got more tools to be able to pick up the lessons to learn. Yeah. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Let me try this.
Yeah, you're right. So tell us a little bit about Why Not Today, and why did you start it?
Okay. So it came from, I call them my Why Not Today moments. That moment in time, you remember exactly where you were, what you're doing. And I was walking around the lake where I live with a friend, and I'd been on her podcast. So I'm like, I might want to be on a podcast or start a podcast. And she's like, you should. But it sounded scary, and I'm not a big tech person. And so I was like, I don't know if I could do that. Well, fast forward a few months, and my dad had passed away, I guess, in 2013. And I even looked into starting a nonprofit in his name and doing some things. He was very active in the community. And so he, I don't even have a Why Not Today thing here, but the logo of Why Not Today is an eye patch and a handlebar mustache, which was my dad's look. He'd lost his vision on one eye when he graduated from high school, and he had a handlebar mustache. So this man posted on a social media site that I don't ever even go on. And he said he had some surgery done, and he had to wear an eye patch. He said every morning he woke up and thought of his friend, Pat Kane, my dad. And he talked about all the things he did. And he said, we both said, why not today? And although I don't remember my dad specifically saying those words, he was always a figure out a kind of guy. Like there was nothing that we couldn't figure out. And so he said that. And again, I remember exactly where I was, what I was doing, the day it was. And I told my friend that, and she's like, well, that's the name of your podcast, and why not today? And so I didn't start it immediately. As I said, I am deadline driven. So I started on March 5th, 2022, which happened to be my dad's birthday and the day he passed away. I recorded it, and I recorded it like 3:00 Friday afternoon and posted the first episode on Saturday. So I'm
wow.
just, and I'm sure it's not perfect. My sister even said one time, she's like, you've gotten a lot better. I'm like, oh, good. And ironically, the first episode of anybody's podcast is the most watched or listened to because people often go to the beginning. So,
yeah.
But that's kind of the story where that came from. And then I was just being consistent. And I think that's one of my keys to success is consistency. And I did an episode every other week. I didn't even have a microphone for a year and a half. And then I started doing every week. And then I'm like, I was talking to somebody, a coach and mentor, and he kept saying, you should start an LLC. And again, I thought it was this big, scary thing. So I finally had a deadline and did it. And then it's kind of evolved from there. And I'm still trying to figure out. So I had a Why Not Today moment. I'm like, we are missing community and connection. So I started a luncheon a year and a half ago. And I jump. I think of an idea, like I woke up in the middle of the night, took notes on my Post-it notes, and within 24 hours, I had it in place.
Wow.
So I don't wait. And that can be good and bad. And then I'm like, figured watching women in business, that a lot of solopreneurs are out there. And what I found in starting this new business is I didn't know what I didn't know because Mary Kay did it for us. Yeah. And so like a website, we pushed a button and paid, I think, $30 and it was done. And so I've had to learn a lot, and I'm watching other women in business doing the same thing. I actually had somebody I met with one day who had started a franchise, and in tears, she told me, I'd never knew how lonely this would be owning your own business.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm really trying to help support women in business to build that community, the tracking, the accountability. So I started a Women Taking Action Inner Circle. It's kind of a group coaching, but really it's not coaching. It's coming beside people and supporting them to take the actions and to get the things done and help each other. We're not in this by ourselves.
That's brilliant. And you're right. It is lonely. Any entrepreneur will say that, you are, and you're by yourself. Everything hangs on you. And it feels good to have somebody that you can just bounce things off or
Yeah.
just get it out and say, here's what I had happening and what's going on, just to get some feedback from people. So brilliant idea.
One of the
So
women that signed up for it, she's had several businesses and several fail. And she said probably they failed because her ego got in the way and she didn't want to ask for help.
oh, that is so easy to let that darn ego get in the way.
Nobody talks about all the bad. And so I pivoted the
True.
podcast instead of just courage. And you are actually going to be in my next episode. We recorded an episode. You're going to be my next podcast. But, I asked people, like, what do you wish you would have known before you started? And what are you so glad you didn't know? Because you may never have it. And let's talk about the messy middle, because it's not a straight line from starting an LLC to making $1 million. Although everybody makes it yet, but nobody talks about the fails and the bad things.
And it also looks easy from the outside.
Oh, yeah.
On the inside, there's all the tiny little things that we have to do to take care of things. So good point. So how can a person find you, and how can they reach out to you if they want to start with Why Not Today? And if they want to join at one of your circles, how can they reach you?
Well, my website is whynotTodayMovement.com. And unfortunately, I have not gotten a chance yet. It's on my to-do list to put the inner circle. I just kicked it off, or I'm just kicking off. So it's not on my website yet, but you can contact me. I am very active on Facebook. And it's just Leslie Kane. I pop up pretty quickly, but also I have a group called Women Taking Action Community. And that's where I share content, and, you can contact me and get support. So, finding me, Leslie at whynotTodayMovement.com, or it's on my website too.
Great. And I'll be sharing those in the show notes. So if you're listening, you can check it out and find it in the show notes. But Leslie, this has been a pleasure to have you on today. I learned a lot. Every time I talk to you, I learn something new. And I'm really inspired I'm inspired by how you take what some people might see as the mundane or the nitty-gritty, and you make that the shining object that gets something done every day. So thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, and thank you for having me as your guest.